2,000 years ago that is the one and only Savior. I mean, that's pathetic beyond belief. This is what revolts atheists and what revolts free-thinking human beings and ascended people. It's just such a revolting, repulsive teaching that it's so obscene that anyone should suggest that there is any kind of salvation outside of your body. This is the ultimate blasphemy, and anyone who promotes a historical Jesus is delusional. In that sense, yes, there may have been Jesus. Josephus spoke about 4 or 5 Jesuses, and one of them was a high priest. The Talmud speaks about the cursed Jesus and cursed his name and everything. Well, that was a high priest who went down to Egypt, got himself tattooed with all the secrets that he learnt in the initiation chambers, went back to the Middle East, started preaching, had some followers. I believe there might have been 12 followers. These were just priests. They were just magicians. There was Yeshua ben Pandira, there was Yeshua ben Hamashiach, there was Yeshua ben... there was lots of Yeshuas. But as for the one and only true Saviour, Jesus Christ, that's coming in the clouds, that's a story that rivals Humpty Dumpty, Little Red Riding Hood, Puff the Magic Dragon, and all of those stories. They're just myths.
Right. Santos, and what about the story? Because now that you mentioned this one priest, I know of this one priest. His name is Dr. Michal Ledwith. I don't know if you've seen some of his work. He's done a lot of stuff on orbs, and he was a former priest who was one of the 13 counselors or what do you call these? Advisors of the Pope when Ratzinger, well, the Pope has 13 advisors, right? And when he was in the Catholic Church, the leader of that particular group of that 13 advisors was Ratzinger, and he was one of them. So he left the church, and now he belongs to, I don't know, some group. But he does a lot of work on this research on the hidden years of Jesus, right? And he points out a lot of the work of Nicholas Notovich, right, the Russian researcher, and he gives a lot of detail as to how, what you were just mentioning before, this one Jesus, the Jesus that we know of, the historical Jesus, went to Egypt. He got prepared in the mystery schools, and at the age of 13 goes to India. There's evidence, he says, that he was in India. Then he goes to the Tibet. There's another woman, Elizabeth Gaspari, who also gives truth to this story and brings out a monk in tablets and documents in Tibet that say that your historical Jesus was here. Joshua ben Joseph, I think they call him. So what is there truth to this, or is this just another story to this historical Jesus, Santos?
No, there is truth. There is information that there is truth to these Jesuses, but it's not the Savior, But then again, you could call that one a Savior. Anyone who comes along and is ascended. If you ascend, which I've explained what ascension means. Ascension means when you bring the Christ oil up into the optic thalamus, and then you ascend, because once the oil comes back to the optic thalamus, what happens is all the dormant brain cells awaken, and when they awaken, you become a Christ, you become a Jesus, So, and then you can go and teach other people how to do the process, and therefore you are a Savior. So there's been many of these saviors. Apollonius of Tyana. Pythagoras was supposedly one of these. Orpheus, Bacchus, Dionysus, and they all founded their schools. I mean, Aristotle was a savior. He was a savior to Alexander the Great. These are great teachers with great insight. You see, only someone who has come back into the heavens, which is the dome of heaven, which is the optic thalamus, the pineal gland, the pituitary body, the amygdala, the pons, the medulla oblongata, the cerebellum, all these beautiful things that get reactivated once you bring the Christ oil up the spinal cord, up the Jordan River to be baptized and crucified in the head, Golgotha, Calvary. You can become a Jesus. You know, if you do the process properly and become a clairvoyant, well then that's what Jesus is. You know, so but think of it, Johnny. What's the good of having someone who lived 2,000 years ago, who we know very little about, and there's so much speculation about? Did he do this? Did he do that? What's the good of having a savior like that? You know what I mean? I mean,